All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into something that catches almost everyone out, even the pros. You're about to buy some new tech, right? But what's the real price tag? Because I promise you, it's way more than what's on the sticker.
Yeah, think about it. The last big software purchase you made. You probably focused on that one number, right? The license fee, or maybe it was a monthly subscription. But if that really is that the whole cost? No way, not even close. And that's the thing. That initial cost, it's really just the start of the story. You got to think of it more like a down payment, but on a huge financial commitment you didn't even know you were making. Get that wrong, and your budget is in for a world of hurt. So the best way to picture this, it's the classic iceberg. You know the one. That price you see, the one you signed off on, that's just the little piece sticking out of the water. The real cost, the part that's going to sink you if you're not careful, is the massive chunk hiding right under the surface. Okay, so let's dive under the water for a minute and see what we're really talking about. I think you're going to be shocked at just how big this hidden part of the iceberg actually is.
All right, so check this out. We've got data from places like Gartner, and it's pretty eye-opening. That upfront cost you spend all your time negotiating, the license fee, it's usually only about 20, maybe 30% of what you'll actually spend over the life of the product. Just think about that for a second.
So that number, the one that gets all of the attention in meetings, the one you fight tooth and nail for, it ends up being one of the smallest pieces of the entire puzzle. It's just a sliver of the total spend. Okay, so if that's just a small piece, where is all the rest of the money going? Well, this is the crazy part. A huge chunk, we're talking 40 to 60% of the total cost, comes from expenses that are totally hidden. Stuff you never even saw coming.
Yeah, these are the costs that just blindside you. They're not on the quote from the vendor. They can end up being double or even triple what you thought you were paying in the first place. This is the part of the iceberg that can absolutely wreck your budget. So how do you stop your budget from hitting this iceberg? You need a tool. You need sonar, right? Something that lets you see the whole thing, top to bottom, before you get too close. And that tool has a name. It's called Total Cost of Ownership, or TCO. Basically, TCO is a framework that forces you to look at everything, not just the sticker price. It's a full financial picture of an IT purchase, covering every single cost, direct and indirect, from the moment you buy it to the day you finally get rid of it. You're typically looking at a 3 to 5 year window. So let's break that down. Look here. The acquisition cost, that's the tip of our iceberg, right? It's only about a quarter of the total cost. The huge, massive piece is operational costs. That's almost half. And that's things like your staff's time and the infrastructure to run it. Then you've got support, implementation, and hey, don't forget the cost to actually shut it down at the end. It all adds up. Let's just pick one of those hidden costs. Implementation. Say you spend $100,000 on the software license. Great. Well, get ready to spend another $50,000, maybe even $200,000 just on getting it up and running. Yeah, that's for all the fun stuff like moving your data, customizing it, and making it talk to all your other systems. Okay, so that's the theory. But let's look at a real-world example, because this is where doing a TCO analysis really shows you what it's worth. So, a choice that tons of companies face. Do we run the software on our own servers? We call that on-prem. Or do we use a cloud service, a SaaS subscription? On-prem costs a ton of money upfront. SaaS has those monthly fees that go on and on. So which one is actually cheaper in the long run? All right, let's pretend we're buying a CRM system for 100 people. If you go on-prem, you've got that giant license fee right at the start. Plus, you're paying for servers and the people to manage them forever. With SaaS, you've got that subscription fee, but a lot of the other costs, like infrastructure, are way lower. And here's the kicker. When you actually add it all up, over, say, 5 years, the SaaS option is often 15, even 30% cheaper. That's a huge saving that you would have completely missed if you only looked at that initial price tag. See? That's the power of TCO. So now the question is, how do you actually use this in your own work? And more importantly, how do you avoid the common mistakes? Let's walk through it. Okay, if you're going to do this, you have got to avoid these classic mistakes. First, people always forget the indirect costs. Things like how much work gets lost while everyone's in training. Another big one, they pretend their own team's time is free. It's not. You have to account for that. And please, please plan for growth. If you don't, you're just setting yourself up for a budget nightmare down the road.
So here's a simple roadmap you can use. First step, come up with a standard way of doing TCO in your company. Second, build some templates. That way you're always comparing apples to apples, project to project. And finally, this is the most important part, you have to bake this into how you buy things. Make a TCO analysis a required step before anyone signs a check for a big IT purchase.
Look, at the end of the day, TCO isn't just some boring accounting thing. It's a strategic weapon. It lets you see the whole picture so you can make much, much smarter decisions. And that just leaves one last question for you to think about. What icebergs are hiding in your IT budget? And what are you going to do about them?